Thank you so much for coming to join us, Monica.
What would you say is one of your sort of biggest accomplishments?
So having your own pigment line is a big deal, although it's not a huge deal.
Sudden, everyone is just using Monica Ivani all around the world.
I wanted people to try it out and see it for themselves.
Yeah, and is this the reason why your pigments remove so beautifully in the skin?
Again, I'm not against organic pigments. Organic pigments are amazing, but not for hair strokes.
Monica, what is one of the biggest challenges?
I think the biggest challenge was, I think they completely crap, and I think they lying to their customers and to their followers. But anyways,
do you have any sort of next steps?
So we are in the process of.
If you were deserted on a desert island.
That was a trick question.
I know, sorry about that.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Permanent Makeup Podcast. We have some super exciting news to announce, and that is that we are now sponsored by the UK leading permanent makeup supplier, Killer Beauty. If you enter the PMU Podcast at checkout, you get 10% off your order. Enjoy the episode.
Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of the PMU Podcast. And today we are blessed with Monica Ivani. Thank you so much for coming to join us, Monica.
Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you so much, Corina and Tamara, for the invite. I'm absolutely delighted. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here with you guys.
Okay, so we've put together a few questions. Obviously, we can go off track a little bit, but one of the first things I'm sure everyone wants to know, and you've probably said it to people before, is how you got into permanent makeup, Monica, and how long have you been doing it? What was your life kind of before permanent makeup?
Okay, wow. Going back to the very beginnings, my goodness. Well, I suppose that wasn't very special. My story isn't very special in the terms of, I think most people have very similar stories. I did nails before, and I think a lot of my students are coming from that background as well, either nails or lashes or beauty or whatever. So I did nails for 12 years, and I had an amazing little business. But I worked 12 hours every single day, 6 days a week. I worked all the time. I earned good money, but I just worked all the time. And we were planning to have a baby. And I just knew that with a baby, there's no way I will be able to work those hours. I'm gonna need to do something that obviously is I have a little bit more flexibility with time, so I can obviously I maybe half a days, or like not 12-hour days. So anyway, one of my friends went over to Paris to get her eyebrows done, and she got hair strokes done. Now this was back over 12 years ago, right? And she went over and she got her eyebrows done, and she paid, I can't remember, 400 or 500 euros back then, which was a lot of money back then. And she came back, and 3 months later, her brows were gone, completely gone. And she just turned around to me and said, Monica, I think you need to do this, because like, look at my brows. I went over, I traveled all the way, and look, there's nothing left. So I think you would be absolutely brilliant, and I would come to you. So that's how it came. That's how I thought, okay, you know what? Why not? I'll give it a go. And that's it.
And then, so how long ago was that?
So I trained 12 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So that must have been actually about 13, 14 years ago. So that gave me obviously the spark to do it. And then I went over to Germany. I trained in Germany. I looked around there was none in Ireland at the moment. There was a few big companies in the UK, but they were enormous prices. Like they were £20,000 to learn at that time. And I said, there's no way I'm going to do that, because I don't even know if I'm going to be good at it. And then I found this company in Germany that meant to be really good. And this lady was very, very good. Her name was Sandra. And I did a whole week with her. Now it still costed me 10,000 back then, which you see, it's just so different, isn't it? To now, because now you can get training for like what, 2-3 grand? You know what I mean? So it's completely different now.
Yeah, the common theme amongst a lot of people is that our beginners courses weren't typically amazing, but have definitely improved. But yeah, a lot of people have spent thousands of pounds to qualify.
Everything has improved. Yes, everything has improved now. Like, I mean, I'm obviously my training back then was really good, although nothing compared to trainings now. Trainings now are so much more sophisticated, so much more complicated, so much better. There's so much more involved and so much cheaper. It's so much more affordable and available as well everywhere, you know. So I think that's brilliant. I think that's fantastic.
Amazing. So tell us about a typical day in your life now.
Oh my goodness, a typical life in Monica. Right. Okay. So again, I don't think I'm very special in that either. Obviously, maybe I'm just a little bit busier with other stuff as well. So I have caught back to one client a day now, where I used to do like 2-3 clients in the mornings, but now I only do one client a day. So that gives me time to do a little bit more marketing, or maybe help my assistant Sharon with the admin stuff and emails and inquiries about pigments or products or trainings or whatever. And then I'm lucky enough to be able to go and pick up my daughter. I have a 9-year-old little girl. And then after that, in the afternoon, I would be still working. So it's not like I only work half days. I don't, because then obviously there's more emails coming in. So we would be still getting back to them and organizing stuff and doing bits. So I don't think it's very special, but then at least I'm home and I can do dinner for my family, or I can clean, or so. I'm not very special in that either. I would say that most people would have this. Maybe they probably do more clients rather than, you know, products or services or trainings. But yeah.
I remember when I trained with you, actually, it wasn't long after I just had my daughter, and I said, did you not want another one? And you were like, no, one was enough.
No, I know. You know, I'm very blessed, obviously, to have my daughter and to have one even. And I know that some people don't want to agree with me on this, but yeah, no, I decided for many years I was on the you know, on the fence of, should we have another one? Should we not? Should I not? Should I not? And I couldn't really decide. And then obviously, eventually, 5 years later, I decided really that, okay, that's it. One is enough. And I'm absolutely delighted with my decision. But I do know that a lot of people think that, you know, it's not fair to have just one. You need to give them a sibling, and you need to have at least 2 or 3, or I don't know about the UK, but in Ireland, I mean, there's big families here, you know, people have at least 4 or 5 kids, you know, all the families are big and they love them, and it's very family centered life here. But no, one is absolutely enough for me.
Yeah, my granddad was one of 9. He's Irish. My granddad was one of 9. Yeah.
And he's Irish.
Yes.
Yeah, but there you go. So what about you? Do you think you're going to have another one?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, we're going to get married.
Really?
Yeah, I'm getting married in 3 weeks. And then after the wedding, I'm planning number 2. Like,
oh my God, that's amazing. Oh my God, congratulations. That's amazing. I can't wait to see your wedding photos.
I know. We've done it. We haven't done the very traditional wedding. So we're just doing a registry office, and then we're going to have a massive party. But that's what works for us. That's the kind of people that we are. So yeah. Good. But I didn't want to be pregnant when I was getting married. Otherwise, we would have started trying for number 2 sooner. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Enjoy my
so, where is the wedding? Is it in the UK?
Yes, it's going to be in Hertfordshire. So yeah, in a couple of different venues in Hertfordshire.
So exciting.
Yeah.
That is so exciting. Oh my God.
So Monica, actually one question I just wanted to jump back to is, where are you originally from?
Hungary. So I'm originally from Hungary, but I moved to Ireland when I was 20. So that was 23 years ago. So I spent more of my time here than I spent obviously in Hungary. So I look at Ireland as my home country. Although obviously I'm from Hungary and I speak Hungarian. I do go back to Hungary maybe once a year because my husband is also from Hungary and his mom is still alive. So we do go and visit her mainly for that reason. And I have 2 sisters and they come over here to Ireland all the time. So yeah.
So what made you guys move to Ireland?
So I was very young. So obviously I didn't move with him. I moved here with a friend of mine, and we wanted to go traveling. You see, I love traveling. And as you know, I travel quite well. I used to travel quite a lot for trainings as well. And I even back then, my dream was always traveling. I love getting on a plane, and then a few hours later getting off in a complete different culture and they speak different languages. They eat differently. They eat different stuff. It's just I find it so fascinating. So even back then, so obviously, so anyway, so we wanted to go to Australia and America backpacking. Obviously I was very young, but I spoke fluent German, but I didn't speak any English. Although I did learn, but I focused more on the German. And I needed to learn English. My friend spoke fluent English, but so we said that we're gonna go somewhere to learn English for a year. So we had a choice between Dublin and London. So we just said, she had friends over in Dublin, and we just said, let's try Dublin. And, and when I came here, funny enough, when we came here, I thought, oh my God, what a kip. Because of the weather. Obviously, you guys have it in the UK, but in Europe, coming from Europe, we have summers. We have proper summers, we have proper winters, and you're used to that. And when I arrived here, it was just the one season. It was just the autumn for the whole year. It just rains and just the gray skies all the time. So I thought, oh my God, no. So I left. I went to Tenerife then after a couple of months, and I stayed there for a year. And then that's when I came back in 2000. I came back for whatever reason. I came back, and then I love it since. I absolutely love Ireland. Ireland is my home. But yeah, the weather could be better for sure. But I'm sure that your guys are the same in the UK.
Yeah, you hate the weather here, Karina, don't you?
Mate, I would be the first one on a plane moving out to Dubai or back to Australia if I could. Unfortunately, my family keeps me in the UK.
I know, that's it. I know.
Literally.
So Monica, you have touched on it a little bit, but maybe there's two answers to this next question. So obviously you've spoken quite a lot about your daughter, so I'd imagine she's definitely one of your biggest accomplishments. But yes. Work-wise, what would you say is one of your sort of biggest accomplishments, your moment where you thought, wow, I can't believe this?
Obviously you guys know I have my own pigment line, and having your own pigment line is a big deal, although it's not a huge deal. The huge deal with my pigments, is that they are one of the most popular pigments in the world. So that's probably one of my biggest accomplishments that I have ever done, that they have become so popular all around the world. So not just in one country, not just in Europe, but all around the world: Australia, America, Europe, South Africa, and it's just really, really popular. So obviously that's a huge thing. And also, I suppose the fact that people want to learn from me, I think that's also I think it's also huge for trainers to be asked to train, to go and travel all around the world like that, to the other side of the world, to either for conferences, to lecture, or to teach your technique that you came up with, and all of that. So yeah, I think those are the biggest things that I have done, I think.
And how did you
sorry, I was just going to say, the pigment line is just incredible. It's blown up, and congratulations on your 4th birthday.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
All of a sudden, everyone is just using Monica Ivani all around the world.
Exactly. So it is. So it's quite big. As I said, it's quite a very big accomplishment. Because obviously I look at myself always, I'm just a regular normal person. I'm nothing special. Yes, I always have worked very, very hard, and I always wanted to create a pigment line that is simple, that is easy, that is because all the pigments out there before I came up with mine, there were so many colors and so complicated, and you had to modify them. And you had to do this, and they came with a massive big, I don't know if you remember, but they came with massive big explanations, and like you had to really get to know them for years before you chose the right colors. Anyway, So yeah, so I'm absolutely, obviously, I'm very proud of my pigment. So thank you so much. I'm delighted because it's 4 years in the market. So that means that there's 4 year, and people just love it even more after 4 years. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just the marketing, although don't have a marketing team. I am a me, so I do the marketing for myself. So I'm a very, very small company. I have an assistant and I have another tattooist, and that's it. So for that to achieve this, obviously, it's huge, because when you can afford, if you have a lot of money, and if you can afford a very big team, marketing team and social media team, then I feel that it's almost doesn't matter about your product, because you're going to sell well anyway. But when you don't have any of that, and I didn't really want that anyway, I didn't want to market it hugely. I wanted people to try it out and see it for themselves. I don't like selling things. I don't like pushing things on people. So yeah, so that's why I'm very so proud.
And when you sort of started, what was your goal? Like, did you sort of sit down and think, this is what I want to achieve? Like, what were you looking to achieve right at the beginning when you started the pigments?
So as I just told you that I just wanted to create a very simple line, just a couple of main colors that you would use all the time, that you don't need any other color, that you would, obviously I live in Ireland, so we know that most of my clients and most of our clients, most of the population here is Caucasian people, and a lot of them would be very fair. So they would be very pale. A lot of them would be either redheads or blondes, or even the dark-haired ladies would have a quiet pale skin with very cool undertones, quite a lot of red in them. Although we're lucky because there's no sun here in Ireland, or in the UK, but people's skin is quite sensitive. So I wanted to create a line that is very easy for them. Also, obviously, you can use the pigments for other people, and as I said, lots of people use them all around the world in hotter climates as well, like Australia or South Africa or the southern states in America. But they are just fantastic for Caucasians.
Yeah. So how did you get into pigment creation? Like, obviously you've teamed up with Eli, who are a huge American company, am I right? Or are they Canadian?
No, American. Yeah. They're based in New Jersey, beside New York. So they have asked me, so they reached out and they have asked me if I wanted to create my own line. So I was very lucky again with that. But I suppose the reason how they found me was because I was friends with a couple of people that they were involved with. So I don't know if they recommended me. They were looking for somebody in Europe that is well known in Europe and has has a big name in Europe, and they wanted somebody, because obviously I don't know how much you guys know about the signature lines. So Li has the signature lines, which is a collaboration between Li Pigments and then the artist itself. So there's 3 signature series, and 2 of them are Americans. And then, as I said, they wanted somebody in Europe. And because I was involved a lot with America at that time, this was back 6 years ago, they just asked me if I wanted to collaborate with them. And I said, of course. I mean, what a dream come true. I have used Li Pigments anyway beforehand. So it was a no-brainer,
And did you get to go to the lab, and were you helping to mix up the formulation?
No, I never went to the lab. Obviously, so they asked me about 6-7 years ago if I wanted to collaborate. And I said, of course. So when we started, the way it worked for us was I did travel a lot to America at that time, and we did have it scheduled in to go to the lab, but they said that we actually had to rearrange it because they were very busy at that time whenever I was there. And then I never really had the time to go back. But the way it worked with us, that I just had a direct contact with the chemist in the lab. Her name is Blanca, and she is fantastic. And she created my pigments. And the way it worked was, I told her what I wanted, obviously, what my vision was. And then I told her, because I used LI pigments before, so I told her that, okay, so I want, let's try to say, I want this LI pigment color and this LI pigment color mixed in a ratio of, say, 80 to 20, and make it 20% thinner consistency, make it 20% more stronger than the usual LI. And then that's how she created those colors. And then obviously she sent me testers, which we tested for months and months. And then obviously whenever I had an edit, I had to go back to her and say, well, okay, so listen, I think this needs to be a little bit thicker, or needs to be a little bit thinner. It needs to be a little bit darker. It needs to be a little bit cooler. I don't want any warmth in them. So again, I don't know how much you guys know about the pigments. Because these are iron oxide colors, 100% iron oxide mineral inorganic colors. And what we know about inorganic colors is that they tend to age down the line, a year or 2 years later, they tend to age a little bit on the warmer tones, completely the opposite to organic colors. So organic colors will heal and age, not heal, they will age a little bit cooler tones. Inorganics will age warmer, and I didn't want that, so I created all of my colors. The 4 colors are a little bit on the cooler side, so that when you use them, they may be slightly ashy, but they will warm up as they age in the skin. But then a year later, they completely disappear, so there's no problem. So yeah, so that's how we created these pigments. So anyway, so we worked on them for about 2 years. Back and forth. We tested them, waited for them, obviously, to come back, waited for the age result, waited for the 6 months result, the year result, and that's how they were created. Yeah.
So the colors that are in your pigment composition, is it black, yellow, red, and blue?
No. So organic colors are made out of the 3 primary colors, which is obviously the blue, red, and yellow. Obviously, in pigments, they're not going to use blue. They're going to use black, the carbon black. That's how the organic colors are created. The inorganic colors are slightly different, because in inorganic and iron oxide colors, you actually have brown colors. So there are some brown colors in them as well, natural brown colors. So yes, there is. So it's not. So that's why they won't age down the line too cool, because the iron oxide in them. Does that explain?
Yeah. And is this the reason why your pigments remove so beautifully in the skin if somebody did get laser?
Exactly. So yeah, so laser will remove black really easily. So if you're working with organic colors, okay, organic colors are made out of the 3 primary colors, as we said, and obviously it has mainly, well, it depends, of course, what color it is, but it would have a lot of carbon black, and carbon black is very easily removed by laser, which is fantastic. But the yellows and the reds are not so easily removable. So some brands, not all organic brands at all, but some brands, when you want to remove them by laser, they will end up an luminous yellow. So they would remove all the black, but sometimes they either left with bright orange or really luminous yellow, light yellow color, because the laser can't remove that at all. And now it's easily, then you can work over that because they're so light, but that is a problem, where inorganic colors are much easier to remove by either saline or laser. They just completely remove with 1 or 2 laser sessions.
Yeah, Monica, I'm trained in laser, and I test all the pigments on just some real skin before, and with yours, and because I do have other brands, with yours, straight away, 1 session, zap and it's gone. And I think sort of as an artist, that makes you feel a lot more confident in your work, because you think, you know, you don't want to think about clients having to have them removed, but actually it just means they're a bit more versatile. If they did change their mind further down the line, they're then able to say, actually, I'd like to give hair strokes now, and we can kind of achieve that. So I think definitely got a lot more confidence since using them, because I feel like actually we can change this if you do change your mind.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. That's obviously, I'm not against organic colors at all. I know, obviously, I know so many people that have organic pigments out there, and companies. I know the owners of the companies, and I think that they are both really important. But for me, obviously everybody will have a preference. Either do they want them longer lasting or do they want them shorter lasting? I prefer to have them faded within a year or two. So then it's my clients will have options later on. Obviously, I do use organic colors sometimes as well. If I have a client that has been coming to me for many years, and I know that she loves my work, but she doesn't want to come back every year. Maybe she has a fast metabolism and it just fades away a little bit quicker for her than it would usually, and she wants them stronger, she wants them more defined, then I would absolutely use an organic color, you know. But I would want to make sure I make sure, and obviously what I would recommend to all artists, make sure that she is happy with your work and she understands that if you put organic in there, it could stay there for many, many, many years, and it may not be removable or not as easily removable, and it will cost a lot of money to remove it, because obviously it just takes more laser sessions as well. So yeah, no, thank you so much. I'm delighted that you said that, because yeah, obviously I'm in contact with a lot of laser specialists as well, and I know their feedback, and they always say that my pigments are so easily removable. So I'm delighted about that, because I think that's very important, because, you know, clients, although, you know, once you do an amazing job, and, you know, you have a name for yourself, you know, all of your clients are going to be happy. But, you know, we don't know clients. Sometimes they can surprise me still. You know, when they leave, they say, oh, they're so happy. And then a week later, they could message me and say, oh, actually, you know what? I changed my mind now. You just don't know, isn't it? With permanent makeup, you just have to be sure.
I remember when I trained with you, I'll keep on saying this, and I remember it was the first time you'd actually explained, because the whole organic, inorganic knowledge around it has, like, again, within the last few years become a lot more talked about, whereas it wasn't as well spoken about. It was never something I was taught about when I initially trained. And it was when you said on your training, you know, you want the hair strokes to be gone, because otherwise they, you know, slightly disperse with some of the other pigments, more organic ones on there, they slightly migrate. And I was like, do you know what?
Yes.
It's a really
Yes, this is absolutely huge. And I'm going to be actually recording lots of stuff for Instagram nowadays, because everything is on Instagram now, you know, and people don't really want to take your class anymore. They just want to learn for free. And I don't have a problem with that. And I will definitely be educating more about this, but 100%, that's, yeah. I always say this, if you, and I always say it in my classes, that there was this saying out there ever since I got into permanent makeup. Everybody said, not everybody, but a lot of people said, why are you doing hair strokes? There's no point, because a year later you're just gonna have to powder over anyway. There's gonna end up a powder brow, and there's just no point to do hair strokes. And I never understood this. And I'm doing permanent makeup 12 years. I never, ever understood this. Why are they saying this? Because it never happened to me. But you see, about 4 or 5 years ago, then I realized, okay, so the reason why it doesn't happen to me is because the pigment choice. Because the pigment that I have always used inorganic pigments ever since from the very beginning. I never used organic pigments. So that never happened to me. Again, I'm not against organic pigments. Organic pigments are amazing, but not for hair strokes. That's 100%. You should never, ever use organic pigments for hair strokes, because of the qualities that it has. It has amazing qualities. But the qualities that organic pigments have is that obviously they're stronger in color, more vivid in color, which would be fantastic for hair strokes. But the other thing is that they're longer lasting, and they last so long in the skin. And because of the carbon black in them, And the carbon being the smallest molecule sizes, they tend to migrate in the skin. Now, all pigment will migrate eventually in the skin if they are in the skin a long time. But you see, inorganic pigments fade away much faster than organic pigments. And when the organic pigments stay there and you did hair strokes, and a year later, those hair strokes gotten double the size, but it's still there, you'll have no hair strokes. You're just gonna have a bad powder, a bad block brow. So yeah, so I always recommend do not ever use organic pigments for hair strokes. Organic pigments are amazing for powder brows, fantastic for eyeliner, for aureoles, for lips, for all of the other procedures, but not for hair strokes, or microblading is the same.
Yeah, I changed after I trained with you. When you explained it like that, after at that training, and you explained it like that, I switched straight away.
Yeah,
like,
and once, and you know, and I always obviously explain this in my classes, and once you explain it to people, they go like, oh my God, of course that makes sense. But of course it makes sense if you know about organic pigments and inorganic pigments, then you know how they are, you know, how they act in the skin long term. And this is the main thing. The short-term healed result, really, yes, it's important, but it's not that important. The important thing is, how are they gonna look in 1 year and 2 years and 3 years down the line? That is the important thing. So you have to, as an artist, you have the responsibility to choose the right technique and the right pigment brand for your client or for that technique.
Yeah, I would say even with your inks, Monica, some of my clients don't come back still till about 18 months. So I'm getting like really good retention. And it's the brow's shape's still there. There's just a couple of sections really that need a bit of a boost. Obviously everyone's different, but so far it's and they're just healing so well. I'm not seeing anything too ashy, which is just like a dream come true. Because when you see those organics coming back so ashy, sometimes you think, oh no, what are we going to do? So yeah, it's really good.
That's brilliant. I'm delighted to hear that. Now, yes, but you know, it just depends on how much you saturate. You know, each artist will saturate the brows or the area that they tattoo completely differently. Some people prefer saturating a lot more. I don't. I'm very light-handed. I'm very shallow. I don't implant a lot of color there. I want it gone within a year. But if I do ask my clients as well, do you want your brows to be gone in a year or a year and a half? Or do you want them to last for years and years and years? And they always say, no, I want my options open. I prefer to come back. I don't mind paying you in a year. I prefer to come back, and then we can then change either the shape or the technique or, you know, just the whole thing itself.
Okay. So next question.
Yeah, I think we jumped ahead a few, so we'll just go back. So Monica, what is one of the biggest challenges that you faced in your career?
Okay, this is a good one. This is a really good one, I feel. The biggest challenges, obviously, I think that there's lots of challenges in everybody's career, with every career. I think the biggest challenge was the beginning, for sure. Because to get good, I think that's the biggest challenge. It was the biggest challenge for me, and I think it's probably the biggest challenge for everybody, to get good. So when you get trained, and you know, nobody tells you this, when you get trained and you pay whatever, how many thousands for your training, and then you go home and you invest in your bed, and then you invest in this and you invest in that, and you know, you have to put your starter kit in, whatever. I thought that obviously when I went over to Germany 12 years ago and I invested 10 grand into my training, and then I came back and I thought that, okay, I'm going to start now earning whatever 300-400 euros per procedure. That wasn't the case though, was it? And it cannot be the case for everybody. And nobody tells you this. But this is why I don't really like marketing. But I mean, I know that marketing is amazing. And there are some amazing marketings out there for trainings as well. But I see this so many times that the way they market their beginner trainings is that, oh my God, you're going to be earning a 6-figure, and you don't have to, you only work like, 3 hours a day, and you're going to be earning, 200 grand in no time. And I don't know, but I don't know. I don't believe in them, and well, not that I don't believe. I think they completely crap, and I think they lying to their customers and to their followers. But anyway, so I think the biggest challenge was obviously overcoming that, realizing that after my training that hang on a second, I'm not good. I was so bad, Corina. Oh my God. I don't know about you guys, but I was so bad at the beginning. And I would say most people are pretty bad, although maybe not with a good training. They may not be as bad as I was. I was pretty bad for about a year.
What did you, when you say bad, do you mean like in terms of pressure, shape? How did you feel as though you were bad, or just everything?
Everything. Now, back then, don't forget, so as I said, I had really good training back then. I thought it was good, but I mean, it's nothing to compared to trainings nowadays. We had no mapping. We had no mapping tools. We had no rules of anything. It was just a pencil, and you just go and freehand the brow up, whatever way you want. There was no like, okay, it should start here, it should end here, it should be like this, it should be like that. There's none of it.
Monica,
So,
no one sees my work from back in the day, okay? No one.
Yeah. Were your clients happy? Even when you did do that, did you find that clients were happy?
Oh my God, they paid me. Everybody paid me. They were delighted because don't forget, before that, nobody even heard of hair strokes. So I did hair strokes from the very beginning, and nobody heard of hair strokes. Everybody just heard, if they thought of a brow tattoo, they just thought of that block tattoo. So to get hair strokes, to lines in there, they were like, oh my God, I can't believe I have actually lines. Now, they were so bad. I mean, I don't know, there's a couple of pictures on my Instagram page where I posted my first job. Oh my goodness, guys, they were so bad. But anyway, back then, that's what it was, and people paid me to do it, and they were delighted, of course. I gotten better, but it took me about 2.5 to 3 years to get good. So that was the biggest challenge, that I just kept wanting to give up. And I kept telling my husband, okay, well, I can't do this. Obviously, I'm doing something wrong. It doesn't look good. And he didn't let me give up. He just said, no, we invested 30 grand at this stage. So we were in 30 grand before I started earning the money back. So so that was my biggest challenge, to overcome that, I think, but then once you get good, you see, then obviously it's so much easier because you're then good, you know what you're doing. And you will always have challenges along the way, of course, but those are not that big, I think.
Mara?
Okay, so what have you seen change the most over time within the industry?
Okay, so I think that Instagram and social media has changed our industry hugely. Obviously, you would only notice if you have started before social media was big. And I started 12 years ago, and Facebook and Instagram, there wasn't even Instagram back then. Facebook only started then getting, being popular and whatever. And it took a good few years for them to get big. And then it changed hugely. It changed the industry hugely because people put a lot of stuff up there, a lot of information, which I feel it's amazing. I think that they do educate a lot of people. They put up a lot of educational stuff, which is very good for us. But I also think COVID changed the industry. Don't you guys think that COVID changed?
I think COVID changed every industry.
Yeah.
And it changed a lot of people as well, not just industries, but in general.
Yeah. I always talk about this, Courtney Stevens, my friend, and we always chat with each other every day. And we think that COVID completely changed the whole industry. And I don't know if it's good or not, but as I said, there's a lot of very strong marketing going on, which again, in some sense, it's good. But then in other cases, I feel that companies that have a lot of money, they put so much effort on the marketing, and they market it very aggressively and very badly. I feel that there's a lot of bad marketing as well. Like as I explained, there's a lot of misleading marketing just to get the people in, and to almost like ripping people off. They just want money. Everybody's just all about the money. They want money. Everybody suddenly wants to be a teacher. Doesn't matter how much experience you have. And I actually don't think it's about the talent, because somebody could be really good after 6 months of doing this, and they could be amazing, and they start teaching. So you see, I don't think that's right, because obviously I have been teaching a long time. And what I feel is that you really need to, when an artist, one of your students, has a question about anything, you have to be able to answer them with your experience. And if you don't have that experience, how can you answer them? What are you going to say? Well, actually, I don't know, because I'm only doing this 2 years. How? Surely you can't as a teacher.
I did an Instagram post basically saying, I just said that all of these trainers that market train and saying, earn a 6-figure income today, need to be ashamed of themselves. And the post blew up, because everyone was like, yeah, you're right. Like, someone needed to say it. And I'm like, I just get so pissed off with earn a 6-figure income, XYZ. It's like, piss off. Like, literally, come on. Like, we work hard to be at the position that we're at. Yes. But furthermore, you're basically conning people to enter the industry for you to make money off of them. But actually, where's the follow through? Where's the continued learning? Where's the continued support for these people to get to that 6-figure income? Yeah. It's sad. Yeah. It's very sad. And I'm sure we're not the only industry that it happens in. But yeah, there needs to be some more regulation around it.
Yeah, you're so right. You're 100% right, Corina. It pisses me off as well, hugely. This and and in the beginning, I tell you what, I get into a fight with another company. Now, this happens to be in Ireland, and like that, they were completely misleading their clients and their students as well. And I reached out to them and I said, you need to stop lying. You actually just have to. And they kept their ground, and they said, no, we're not lying. This is the way it is. I was like, I know how it is, and it is not like that. So you need to just completely stop it, because it's so unethical and so unprofessional, and money is not everything. I mean, I would rather have a smaller company, a smaller business, but have it really ethical and really professional and really good, and look after my staff really well, than to have these big companies and, I don't know, get them to do God knows what,
I think another pet peeve of mine is teaching beginners with organic pigments as well.
Yeah.
Because, as we've already discussed, we know how permanent organic pigments are. Furthermore, they're not easily removed. And I mean, I've definitely been there. I've definitely made the mistake of using organics way sooner than I ever should. But that's another blessing with having your collection as well. Like, it's like that safety blanket for people, especially for beginners. And this is what I think more schools should be doing. Again, stop setting people up for failure. Like, help people, explain to them the difference, and say, look, these aren't going to last as long, but you are a beginner. And that's really important, because your work in 12 months is going to be so different to your work now. Like, it's just,
100% agree on that. And 100% agree on that as well, Corina. But you see, again, I can't really say that, because I have a product, the other product. So if I say this, if I come out and publicly say this, people are going to say, it's just because you want to sell your own product, because you just want us to buy your stuff. And I don't. And so I don't want people thinking that. I don't want to push people to buy my stuff. If you want to buy it, buy it. If you like it, brilliant. If you love it, fantastic. But I'm not going to push anybody, and I'm not going to go and say, beginners shouldn't be using this product, because clearly it's much stronger. I think it's up to the trainer. But like that, you see, trainers don't care. A lot of trainers, they just don't care. They may not have the knowledge and the experience behind them. And this is what I'm saying, that they would have, just because you can do a really good brow or a really good lip or a really good, it doesn't matter what, it doesn't mean that you're going to be an amazing teacher. It does not mean. Being a teacher is completely different than being a good artist or a good tattooist. The two is completely miles away from each other. So I've seen lots of people that are amazing doing a technique. And then I have taken some classes myself as well. And as a teacher, their classes, obviously, and as a teacher, they were crap, absolutely crap. They just sat beside me all day long, doing nothing, So that's not what a teacher is. That's not enough. Doing a technique good is not. So anyway, yeah, I do have a lot of this stuff, but obviously, as I said, I can't come out publicly because people would, put me on a cross.
It's okay. Tamara and I will do it for you.
Thank you.
Use Monica Ivani. Use Monica Ivani.
No. Also,
no,
Monica, I think that just goes back to, you've just sort of like rounded that off really well, because you've just said, that people need to have the good understanding and knowledge. And actually, you've been in the industry for what you say now, 13 years. And actually, you're able to use your knowledge to think there's a gap in the market here. We need an ink that is going to fade out, which is why it's just absolutely skyrocketed, because, you've had that knowledge that you've then used to kind of make everyone's lives a lot easier. So thank you. Yeah, because that's great.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, I know. And thank you. And I'm almost flushing, with because I can't believe that so many people love my pigments, and like you guys, and like both of you doing amazing work. And and I'm just like, I just can't believe it. It's like, it's almost unbelievable, So
and do you have any sort of next steps that you're, obviously you've got your own pigment line. Is there anything that you think, I'd actually like to do this next, or?
Yeah, so we are in the process of buying a building for the company, which will be ready by next year, which is a very big thing, because we'll be owning our own building, and not just renting, which will be huge. And because of that, we'll have it will be very big. So we're gonna have more room for, obviously, a bigger stock room. So I want to do more products. Not lots of different products, but just a few that would go with the pigments, and that people have been asking me for, like modifiers, like thinners, pigment thinners, and a few other bits as well. So yeah, so I will be focusing more on products, and I will be definitely cutting back on training. I won't be traveling anymore. I will be only doing classes in Ireland from the end of this year. And people that want to train by me, they can just come over to Ireland. And I will be cutting back on clients as well. And I want to focus on more products and the trainings in Ireland, So that is my next step, I suppose.
So with regards to your products, your pigments mostly, have you had to change them at all to meet the EU regulations, or to be able to sell them in other?
Yes, absolutely. So obviously we had the original formula, which was so loved and so popular. And then the EU regulations, the EU REACH regulations came in about 1.5 years ago, but they came in quite suddenly. They only gave the manufacturers about 3 months time to come up with to change their formulas. So so a lot of people don't know what the EU REACH formula, what the EU REACH regulation is within the pigment industry, what it is basically the EU formulas. All of the EU formulas with all the brands out there that are EU REACH regulated have to have both organic and inorganic component in them. Okay, so say, my original formula is 100% inorganic and 100% iron oxide. Now the EU wants you using pigments that have both in them. Now the organic is a smaller percentage than the inorganic. Inorganic can still be much bigger, probably more than double, but there has to be a little bit of organic. We don't really understand why this came in and why they changed it, because it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, this is what it is, and obviously that's what they want. But yeah, so we had to change it as well. So now we have 2 formulas, one the original formula for everywhere in the world, and then we have the EU REACH regulated formula, which is sold within the EU only. So not the UK, because the UK is not in the EU, thankfully. now that they're gone, because you guys can still use the organic, the original formula, which is much better formula. The EU formula, we're still formulating them, although it is on the market, but we took the Absolute brand back because they were a little bit too dark because of the organic carbon black in it. I took it off the market completely because we're reformulating it, making it a little bit lighter.
So is it that you've only added carbon black as the organic component, or is it a few different ones?
It's a few different ones, yeah. But very little carbon black in them, very, very little. So they still fade and they still age really well, but they are slightly different than the original formulas. Very similar in tones, very similar how they act and age in the skin, but they are a little bit different.
And does that formula, is that for the States, or the States gets the original one as well?
The original. So the original, we kept the original everywhere else in the world but the EU.
Okay.
So we're only selling the EU ones in the EU.
Beautiful.
Okay. So what was the advice that you felt you needed, Monica, getting into permanent makeup and pigmentology that you didn't get that you would now give to someone else?
I'm gonna go back to, well, there's so many, isn't it? Well, I gotta go back to the one that I mentioned already, that I think every beginner student should be clear that this is not gonna be, they're not going to be doing procedures for hundreds of pounds or euros or dollars within a couple of weeks. They have to be very clear on that, I feel. And even if that will put them off learning permanent makeup, so be it. I think they have to be clear in their mind. So I wish that more people would explain it to the student before they sign up to learn permanent makeup with them, that, okay, but be careful, this is going to be a long road. It's possible, and it will be. It's an amazing industry and an amazing career, but you have to invest. But it's like that. But if you want to learn anything, if you want to be a hairdresser, if you want to be a doctor, you're going to have to learn and practice for years and years and years. So same thing here. So this, just because the course is 5 days or 6 days or 7 days long, it doesn't mean that you're gonna be amazing after that. So I think that's that. I wish that people would tell students that. The one that you said, Corinna, the organic and the inorganic. You see, I had to come up with that myself. So obviously, work out for myself. So if somebody said that to me in a class, that would have been so much easier. My goodness, I didn't have to probably struggle for so many years in why is people saying that this pigment isn't good for this technique, or why, you know what I mean. I think those are the ones that I would recommend.
I think
and obviously, what I would really recommend, it's like that. It's the same with clients. If you're gonna learn permanent makeup, do your research. Isn't it? Mm-hmm. Do your research and make sure that you go to a really good trainer, not because their technique is amazing, but because they are amazing at teaching, because they're going to look after you. They're going to mind you for years to come. So yeah, these are the recommendations I would.
On that note, I'm gutted that you won't be coming to the UK to do any more travels for the time being, to do some trainings. That's a real shame for the industry, but then it just means you're going to get more visitors to Ireland.
Exactly. And UK and Ireland, oh my goodness, it's 40-minute flight, so that's nothing. And so the UK and even Europe is so easy. And we do have a lot of Americans coming over. I have students coming from Australia. But you know what? I just traveled so much. And although I do love traveling, living out of suitcases, I'm not getting any younger, as you know. And I wanted to backpack 20-something years ago, but that's not the case anymore. And living out of suitcases and dragging 3-4 suitcases at a time by myself is not the ideal lifestyle anymore. So yeah, so people can just come over and, and I think that I do a better job here Because obviously when I travel, I have to rent out a place, right? I don't know where anything is. We're missing pigment cups, we're missing tissues and towels and lots of different stuff that we would need. But if they, obviously in my own place, in my own school and academy, we have everything ready and perfectly set up, and it's just easier for the students as well, because I can do my job better, But what about you? You teach, right? You teach as well.
Yeah, so I teach. It's not my favorite thing to do, although I do put in a lot of effort into my students, and I do an annual skills refresh. So for any of my students who have trained with me in the past, once a year, I get as many of them who want to come together again and just like recap. So we basically have a day of basically catching up, talking about the industry latest, and anything that I think is relevant to people that they should know that I've found out over time, or anything, because I'm always doing courses, I'm a bit of a learning fiend. And then it's an opportunity for me just to display a new technique that I've learned or something to my students, because my students have invested in learning from me. So I want to invest back with them, because that was never something that I was able to get from where I learned. So it's a nice thing that I can do for my students. But yeah, it does take it out of me, the teaching, but it's really
teaching
rewarding.
Oh my God, yeah, you know exactly. But after, when I teach, my God, I am exhausted is not a word. We need to invent another word for it, because exhausting, it just doesn't. What?
Mentally drained is a good one.
Oh my God. I mean, back years ago, I did like big classes in America, and I did tours in America. So like I would do like 4 or 5 classes, one after each other, right? And there would be like 10 people in each. And all of my classes are hands-on. So obviously with models. And by the end of each class, and obviously I only had maybe a day off in between these classes, I actually thought I need to check myself into hospital. Because not mentally drained, but physically, obviously on your feet for 12 hours, but you just give out so much, and you just want everybody to get it and understand it, and you're there, and I just feel sometimes I felt like my body is gonna break in half, because but I never regretted it. I think that's how it should be for every teacher. If you decide to teach, you have to make sure that you go out there and you do that.
Yeah, I think the thing that exhausts me the most is because I feel so much pressure on the models, because I want every model to come away with an amazing experience, and I want the work to last, but I don't want it to be too deep. And of course, I've only got one set of eyes and 2 hands, and I can see and I can feel, but I can't make someone do it the way that it needs to be done. That's what I think. That's the only thing about teaching that really gets me, because I'm like, oh, okay, what can we change, what can we do? And like, you've got this person at the end that's like, gonna sit up and see their eyebrows, and all you can think is, God, please be happy, please be happy, please be happy.
I know, but then again, models, I do feel the same way, but then models have to be obviously clear on the fact that they are models. They only paid, we only take like 50 euro from the models, because just to make sure that they arrive, so we take a deposit of 50 euro. So they pay almost nothing for it. So clearly they're going to end up with amazing brows, but if they're not 100% perfect, surely they have to be okay with that, because if they want a perfect brows, they have to come and come to you and get a proper paid procedure.
Oh yeah,
isn't it?
Exactly. I know what you mean, but I still have that like, please be okay, please do these perfectly. Oh my God, like there's 10 people asking me to teach them. Last time I did a big masterclass, Tamara was there with me. She was my right hand girl, and her and I at the end, we just had to have a glass of champagne. We just sit down and just chill.
Brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. You have to, absolutely.
Yeah. So lastly, a little surprise question for you, but this one's quite If you were deserted on a desert island and you had to do PMU, it was the only way you were ever going to survive, but you could only take 3 tools with you, one being a machine, one being a needle, and one being a pigment. What would you take? What machine, what needle, and what pigment?
But pigment is easy, obviously. And again, I am not saying this because these are my pigments, but 100% I would take mine for sure. 100%.
Sorry, I should have made that clearer. What pigment color?
Color, absolute brown. 100,000,000%. I use absolute brown anyway, 95% of the time. Absolute brown, I use it for pale, for blondes, for brunettes, for darker people. I use them. And now the only thing is, you see, I do kind of obviously make it lighter with the other colors or darker with the darker color if I need to. So absolute brown would be my go-to color. But if that's the only color that I was able to bring, I would still make it work because I would just be lighter handed for, say, if I had a blonde client on this island, and then a little bit heavier, more saturated if I had somebody darker. So that's easy. So absolute brown, 100% absolute brown is just an amazing color. Right. Okay. Okay. One machine and a needle. Ooh, this is very hard. No, it's not actually. It's not very hard. I did think maybe the mini flux, but you see, I told you this probably in my class as well. I'm not crazy about universal needles.
Yeah, you've got your own machine and your own needles as well, don't you?
Because of the needles though, you know. So now today I used the Mastour. I had a client earlier and I used the Mastour machine, you know, the wireless little machine, which is amazing and it's so cheap. It's fantastic. And I used Quadron needles, and those are fine. It wouldn't be my, if I had to use a universal needle. Okay. But now, okay, let me go back to the question first. So if I only had one choice, I would bring my Pixie machine because I love it so much and it's good for either hair strokes or pixels. And the needles are just fantastic and it's a tiny little machine. So I just like small little hand pieces with those needles, obviously with 0.3 needles. But if I did have another choice, I think my second choice would be the mini flux. I do love the mini flux. Or the Mastour, which is obviously is also very good. It's wireless, but the Mastour is just bigger because of the battery. And then the Pico needles. Have you tried the Pico needles?
Yeah, I've tried those.
What did you think? What did you think?
I like the larger configuration. So 0.3, I definitely prefer to the smaller ones. Just feel like otherwise they're a little bit too sharp.
Yeah. 100%. I don't like small needles anyway. I feel that smaller needles are so small that you almost have to spend double the time of actually implanting pigment. So I don't like very small needles. I like 0.3 or 0.35 or even 0.4 sometimes. But yeah, I like the Pico needles. If I had to bring a universal needle, then the Pico would be my choice just because it's skinnier. That cartridge itself is skinnier, so it's almost like more a pen, and that's what I like. I like small of everything. Yeah. So those are the choices. That was a trick question.
I know. Sorry about that, but that was a good answer. They were good answers. I like it.
Yeah, they were good. What about you? What would you bring?
Oh, okay. So I am loving the Zion Mini.
Okay.
It's so light. It's my little new baby. It's a 2.5 hit. I've just been using it on everyone and everything at the moment. I'm obsessed, and I am overly obsessed with Quadron needles as well. But the larger ones, I'm using the 3.0s. So they're what I've been using as of late. That I'm obsessed with. Yeah.
Very good, very good. What about the nano needles? Do you like the nano Vertex?
Have you tried those, Karina?
I have, but you know what? I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of Vertex needles. I don't know why. I just prefer to work with Quadrons at the moment. Yeah. I do change. Yeah. I change all of a sudden I'll try something and be like, oh, that looked amazing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, but at the moment, I don't know. I feel like my best work at the moment, I'm getting it with Quadrons.
With Quadrons, amazing. Is it the pink one or the brown ones?
Pink ones.
The pink ones. Wow. Okay. Very good.
All right.
I think so. I've got a couple of machines, but I think my favourite at the moment is the Onyx. Again, quite light, but I'm just waiting for a battery to arrive, because at the moment I use wires and I hate wires. If I could have everything wireless, it's just perfect. And then favourite needle at the moment is probably an Artiste, and I love a 0.35 long taper. That's my.
And can you? Oh yeah. So the Onyx, is it the Artist as well? Is it? Sorry,
no, it's Defender. I'm sure
it's the Defender. So hang on, what is the Artist needles then?
So Artiste brought out universal needles maybe 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago. And no, I think it was between 12 to 18 months ago, and they're universal, and they come in long tapers, short tapers, medium tapers, all different sizes. Okay. They're really good. And also they are designed so that they've got the air hole that you can actually, if you prefer to work with putting pigment through the cartridge, you can put the pigment through the cartridge.
Very good.
So you get that constant pigment flow. And the needle shaft is actually quite small as well, so you don't get like spillage. So that's the one Tamara's referring to.
Yeah. Brilliant. Fantastic.
So that brings us to the end of our questions, Monica.
Oh,
yay. Thank you so much for your time today. We've loved having you. And
thank you so much, you guys.
Yeah, we can't wait to get this one uploaded. But can you just, obviously Tamara and I know where to find you, but can you let anyone else who wants to find you, who doesn't know who you are, they must be living under a rock, but can you let people know how they can find you on the socials or get in touch?
Yes, would you send me the link? Will I put it up in stories for this podcast? Is it?
Yeah, we'll put this. Yeah, don't worry. I'll send you a link. I'll send you everything. But how can anybody that wants to find you get in touch with you? What are your handles?
Oh, well, oh my God. Oh, goodness. Now, messages. Okay, message me on Instagram or Facebook. Probably I'm more on Instagram now than on Facebook. So maybe on Instagram. And then email. We have lots of email addresses, but everything is in my Instagram bio. So Instagram is definitely the way to go. They can either email or message.
Beautiful.
And Monica, haven't you got 2 profiles now? I always get confused when I see you on Instagram.
Yeah. So the Monica Ivani PMU was created by one of my VAs. So obviously over the years, I always had a part-time VA that helped me with some stuff, flyers and some bits. Anyway, and she thought that it would be good to do a separate page for products and trainings. And I thought it was a terrible idea. But anyway, I let her do it. And it was a terrible idea because I can't even manage one really properly. So never mind 2, obviously she worked really hard at it and it is a very good page, but I just don't have time to go in and post on 2 pages. I barely have time to, breathe. You know what I mean? Everybody's the same. So I don't know. I just don't. Anyway, so don't message me on the PMU one because I don't even see those messages.
Perfect. At least someone knows if they have contacted you and they've not heard back from you, it's not because you're being rude. It's just because you.
No, absolutely. Yeah. But listen, thank you so much, Tamara. Thank you so much, Corina. I love you guys. So good to see you, Corina. You look amazing. And your baby is so cute. So listen, I hope I'll see you soon anyway, somewhere in the UK.
Somewhere in the world, definitely.
Yes, somewhere in the world, absolutely. In Ireland, maybe in Dublin. Well, I never know.
You just tell me when and I'll be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, listen, thank you so much, you guys. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.